I'm Roman Yossi of the Nashville Predators.
I'm Dante Fabro of the Nashville Predators.
This is Philip Forsberg of the Nashville Predators.
I'm Colton Sissons of the Nashville Predators.
I'm Eustace Aros of the Nashville Predators.
You're listening to the Renegades of Puck
with Crazy Charlie.
Welcome to the bunker. Welcome to the Renegades of Puck podcast. I'm your host and captain, Crazy Charlie Saunier. And before we get started on the No Half Step in Hockey coverage, first, let me introduce you to our home website, renegadesofpuck.com. Once you go to renegadesofpuck.com, you'll learn everything you need to know about the show. And once you're good and educated about the show, click on that merchandise tab that's going to take you straight to our classic logo t-shirt, our Pride logo t-shirt, all of our different special event t-shirts, and so much more. Don't worry, all the gimmicks you've come to know and love and expect from the Renegades of Puck are still available in our online store, whether that's socks, wall art, throw pillows, bed sets. It doesn't matter to us. We've sold out so that you can buy in. Stick taps, love, and respect to everybody who's picked up some merchandise recently. Social media is how you can help out this independent hockey operation, so please listen up, Renegades. Here's how you can support the crew. You can find us, of course, on YouTube. That's where you can subscribe and make sure you click on those notifications so that you get the latest updates, interviews, which we'll be talking a lot more about coming up in just a few minutes, and so much more. You can also find us on each and every of the social media platforms you can find out there. We are on everything from X to Facebook and Instagram and TikTok, also now on Threads. So please come and find the Renegades of Puck and give us a support. Just search Renegades of Puck on your favorite social media platform today. And of course, the audio podcast. Thanks to the Full Press Predators podcast and Full Press NHL coverage, we are in more ears than ever before, and we sure do appreciate everybody behind the scenes and how hard they have been working. We are almost to 6 million downloads and replays for the year 2023, so stick, taps, love, and respect to each and every one of you who's helped us far exceed what our early season goals were for this year. Now we have more ambitious goals, so let's get over 6 million and we talk about that stuff going forward. You can find the Full Press Predators podcast on any and all of your favorite podcast platforms. Just search for us today. Find Renegades of Puck or the Full Press Predators podcast. Venmo, that's how you can support the Renegades of Puck. Make a donation today and stick taps, love, and respect again. We sure do appreciate that generous donation we just received yesterday to help us with some of the equipment behind the scenes. We've made a lot of upgrades over the last couple of years, and we'll be making many more as we continue building the operation and building the empire right here. We are going to need to continue to upgrade our technology, our computer systems, and, well, frankly, our storage capabilities, which was the problem we faced on the last couple of days as we were building the studio. So thank you. You bailed us out, as you always do, Renegades of Puck. So support your Renegades today by scanning the QR code that's currently on your screen, or just search Renegades of Puck in Venmo. Every dollar goes a long way to helping this independent hockey operation. Now listen, I know it's time for the No Half Step in Hockey coverage, so let me deliver the goods. It's time for episode number 799. That's right, show number 799. And at this moment in hockey history, well, we are talking about the preseason, but the regular season is just about upon us, just over a week away. Let's go back and talk about the Nashville Predators preseason up to this very moment. Now, the last time we spoke, it was in between the doubleheader that I'm about to recap, so I'll take you back to game one on September the 25th. The Nashville Predators 5-0 loss at Florida against the Panthers. The shots on goal were fairly abysmal. Florida 38, Nashville only 23. This was actually worse for the Predators. 10 penalties in the game, giving up 4 power play goals to the Florida Panthers. That's where you find the 5-0 game. Later that evening, the two teams played again, and Florida scored 5 again. Nashville did manage to get on the board. They scored 2, so a 5-2 loss for the Preds. Outscored 10-2 on the day in Florida. It was Livingstone getting the first goal of the preseason for the Nashville Predators. The shots on goal much more reasonable in the second game. The Florida Panthers still outshot the Predators 33-30. After that, Preds came on back home and played preseason at Bridgestone Arena. Nice to see everybody out at the rink again. Nice to just be out there, and we're not counting the results yet, so mostly I'm just counting seeing friendly faces and getting acclimated with the new players. After all, there's been a lot of changeover on this roster, and we'll go down that here in just a moment. It was the 27th of September when the Preds did face off against Tampa Bay at Bridgestone Arena. It was a 2-1 overtime loss against the Bolts. Tommy Novak did pick up a goal. Barry and Forsberg had an assist. Forsberg had 7 shots on goal in that game. Cannot wait to see what Philip Forsberg is going to do this upcoming season. The Nashville Predators followed that up on the 30th of September with a 5-4 loss at Tampa Bay. Tommy Novak did have 2 goals. Kemmel looked really strong in this game. Goal and an assist. Tomasino picked up a goal. O'Reilly did pick up an assist for the Nashville Predators. The Predators will close out the regular season in the Carolina Hurricanes versus first game and then at 10-5 and 10-6, and they'll open the regular season on October the 10th. So the Nashville Predators still have 2 preseason games to go, and now that they've pared the roster down considerably, there will be a competition for just a couple of positions. But for the most part, we know the roster now moving into the regular season. It's not been pretty if you're thinking about or just looking at or focusing on the results, but please, this is the preseason, and it is under a brand new first-year general manager, a brand new first-year head coach, and an entirely new system that was just implemented about 2 weeks ago in training camp. So for the Nashville Predators, we have seen improvement. We have seen signs of what the system will look like and what it can look like. We have seen fast puck movement. We have seen fast skating, and we have certainly seen something that looks different than what John Hines was coaching the Nashville Predators up to do just a season ago. So for the Nashville Predators, no, the score and the results have not been pretty, and yes, everybody would like to see the Preds scoring more goals. Tommy Novak at least putting the puck in the net and picking up right where he's left off in his development. But for the Nashville Predators, as they continue to implement this system, it's not going to be automatic here at the end of the preseason or in the beginning of the regular season. That's a tough matchup to go into Tampa Bay for the first game of the season. The Preds have a tough opening week, as a matter of fact. So for the Nashville Predators, let's not look at the results. Let's look at how they're developing from game to game. Certainly better from the first preseason game to the second. That's not saying much, but you have to start somewhere. And they looked better on home ice, and they certainly looked better in the most recent game in Tampa Bay. And they have 2 more games to get things worked out and to get themselves more acclimated to new coach Andrew Brunette's system and how he wants to play. That puck is going to move, and those players are going to move. It is going to be a faster team, and it's going to be focused on offense moving forward. Andrew Brunette has a different thought process when it comes to coaching than what the Nashville Predators have seen in the past. I, for one, am very excited. I think some of the renewed energy not only comes from the youth infusion that happened at the end of last season, but I think it comes from the new head coach and what the new GM has done so far. Speaking of the new GM, it was time to start making roster cuts, and in this sense, roster cuts means sending players to juniors, sending players back to Milwaukee of the American Hockey League. So I will give you the list of who has remained with the Nashville Predators at this point in time. Goaltending, it's very easy. UC Saros, Kevin Lankinen, both of them will be on the team and will make the team. The captain, Roman Josi, Dante Fabro, Carrier, McDonough, Barry, Delgaizo, Luzon, and Luke Shen, all still on the roster. Right now, that means there's 8 defensemen on the roster, and I think the Nashville Predators are going to keep 7. So I think Mark Delgaizo is going to end up back in Milwaukee, but they're going to give him these last 2 games as an opportunity to compete and win at the defensive position. But for the Nashville Predators, I think this defense core is going to be better than what maybe a lot of people were considering when last season wrapped up. At forward, things look a little bit different than they did coming into this time of year last year. I'll give you the list, and I'll tell you right now, the Preds have 16 forwards on the roster. They're going to keep 14, and one of them is actually on injured reserve, so that will change the numbers. Let me tell you who's on the team first. Number 8, Cody Glass. Number 9, Philip Forsberg. Number 10, Colton Sissons. 13 is Yakov Trenin. Number 14 is Gustav Nyquist. Number 15, Dennis Goryanov. Number 17, Jankowski. 26, Philip Tomasino. 36, Cole Smith. Kiefer Sherwood's back at number 44. Michael McCarron's 47. Parson in 75. Luke Evangelista's number 77. Tommy Novak is 82. Nolan Burke is going to wear number 86. I mentioned him. He's going to be on injured reserve, so he will not be counting against the roster. Ryan O'Reilly will wear number 90. So at this point, they will have 16. They will keep 14. Nolan Burke is going on injured reserve, and so the Nashville Predators will have to make one decision when it comes to the bottom six of the forwards. So we still have a couple of battles to go for the Nashville Predators before the end of preseason. They start the regular season. Then I have a feeling we'll see roster adjustments as Andrew Brunette gets used to his new players, his new team, and the players get used to their new coach and his new system and new way of doing things. We may see flux in the lineup for several games, several weeks even. So we will just keep an eye on that. But the renewed interest from the fan base, the renewed exuberance and energy of cleaning house, basically. There's no other way to say it. The Nashville Predators made significant amount of roster changes and significant roster upheaval since the trade deadline last season moving forward, and then the additions in this offseason and in free agency. Now, something new for this podcast, and that's coming up right after the break. I'll tell you about it. We are going to have our first ever special guest. That's right, coming up next, right here on the Renegades of Puck podcast.
Hockey players are as unique as the game itself, and your uniform should be tailored to fit you. Rebirth Sports is your sports apparel tailor. From shells, bags, warm-ups, hats, hoodies, branding, and more, let Rebirth Sports be your custom hockey tailor.
And don't forget to tell them they do more than just hockey.
Rebirth Sports on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Rebirth Sport, a match made in hockey.
Welcome back into the Renegades of Puck podcast on the Full Press Coverage Network, the Full Press Predators podcast. We are going to be expanding our coverage. We are going to be adding to our content. We are going to be debuting new segments and new content, and that's exactly why I called one of my closest friends in the hockey community. It's Paul McCann, and Paul McCann joined me for an interview. Listen, the conversation went great. It was hilarious. Lots of back and forth. We were sharing old times. We were having a lot of fun, but I got to be honest with you, I screwed something up, and I screwed something up pretty bad. It was the first time we've attempted to do an interview. It was meant to be a trial segment, and I was hoping we could record it and play it back for you in its entirety and make it the first ever interview on here. We are still going to present to you some of that conversation with Paul McCann because I feel that some of it is very important. But listen, this was completely a screw up, but Paul gave me such good answers, such good questions. The screw up ultimately ended up being it only recorded one way of the conversation. So I'm going to tell you right now that I talked to Paul McCann about being here before the Nashville Predators even existed, what that decade in his life was like moving to Tennessee and being here at the beginning and the first seasons of the Nashville Predators, and the conversation continued on after that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to play you Paul McCann's answer right now.
Talk about just being thrilled to have hockey. Those of us that grew up with the sport, that knew that, I always joke that, you can watch a game on TV and it's okay, but man, once you go to one live, it's like crack, man, you're done. Yeah. And that's where I knew that, while this town took, Nashville took a little time to get to that point of, really knowing the game. I mean, we were day one season ticket holders. We were hanging out in section 310 the entire time, just getting crazy, getting nutty. And, it was kind of cool to have kind of the open press box that we had. And Pete Weber and Terry Crisp were just such an integral part of teaching this market about the game. And I've always called Pete and Terry the Gene Hart and Don Earl of Nashville, because everyone that goes to Bridgestone Arena right now learned the game from those two voices. And so you look at it and go, you look at the first year, and as the old Al Michaels line from the Miracle on Ice game was, a lot of folks in Nashville didn't know a blue line from a clothesline. But you know what? It was fun. It was exciting. It was new, and the team figured out, look, we're going to have to put on a show as well. And I mean, this team has a reputation for having just stellar game operations, have from the beginning, and to be part of that tradition is an honor for me. But when you think back to those beginning years, the first goal, the first win, the first time making the playoffs, that first goal that Adam Hall scored against the Red Wings. You go back to, and you can bring up phrases like backdoor Bubba, the Bubba Beringswig goal against Dallas. Jordan 2-2. Heck, some of the fights from Patrick Cote, and all of the things that we remember, those of us that have been following the team for the 25 years. And it's hard to believe, it's hard to say 25 years of the Nashville Predators. And it's just fascinating to see that the growth in this town, not only just as a city. I mean, we've seen that Nashville has grown from a mid-sized city to, quite frankly, on the cusp of a major city. From a size perspective, from a population perspective. I mean, now, if someone 20 years ago would say, "Hey, maybe we need a baseball team and put it in Nashville," they'd be like, "Yeah, right." Now that's pretty serious. That you're going to probably have a third major league sport, and people that would say, "Oh, they're going to build the largest soccer specific stadium in North America in Nashville, Tennessee," and people would go, "Yeah, two questions: what do you want, and do you have any more?" I mean, when you look at those things, I mean, just the explosion in this market, for good and for bad. I mean, traffic, we know that, and Californians, yeah, we know that. But I mean, just to see the growth in this market has been unbelievable, and to be a small part of it, to watch this Nashville Predator team grow from, barely making the playoffs to then bringing names in like, JP Dumont and Peter Forsberg and Paul Correa, and that first team where you go, wow, this team really has a shot. And a couple of bad breaks against San Jose, and it ends in the first round. And then they sneak into the playoffs 2 games before, in the second to last game of the season in 2017, just go on a magical run. And quite frankly, I still say that if, Ryan Johansson didn't get hurt in the conference final, completely different result. But ifs and buts. So, but it's been fascinating to watch this market grow as a sports market, especially from a hockey perspective.
I also talked to Paul McCann about what it's been like since that time period, the build to the playoffs, winning the first series, and oh yeah, that run in 2017 that captivated each and every one of us. It was an incredible time for the Nashville Predators franchise. Paul McCann had some things to say.
Nashville's always been known as a place, they've always done a great job on the CMAs and fanfare and FanFest and all of these things, but think about when it really cracked, when the rest of the world, the sports world, stood up and said, "Whoa, what's going on in Nashville?" That was the All-Star game in 2016. The party this place put on and the buzz that it generated inside of the sports media world. I mean, look, hockey media had absolutely loved coming to Nashville. You'd always hear them, nursing a hangover after spending too much time at Tootsie's the night before, all of that stuff. But when you have the 2016 All-Star game and then backed it up with the absolute spectacle of games 3 and 4, and especially game 6, when you just saw, I mean, between the 100,000 in for the CMA Fest and 100,000 down to watch hockey, you just never saw that anywhere else. And then, the NFL stood up and took notice and went, "Hey, maybe we ought to put the draft there." And the draft was a huge success. The Stadium Series game was a huge success. Oh my! And when you talk to the media, intelligentsia, I guess, whatever you want to call it, the people that run things from from a sports media perspective, they know if they come to Nashville, they're going to have a hell of a show. There's going to be a lot of talent, and you know what? Things are going to run smoothly. And you just look at last June, first time in NHL history where they did the awards and the draft in the same building 2 days apart, and it was seamless.
One of my absolute favorite moments, and I had to get Paul to tell me the story right here on the Renegades of Puck podcast. It was the night Alice Cooper performed during intermission of a Nashville Predators game. Easily one of my favorite nights of being in the rink and covering the team. I know it was one of Paul's favorite nights, and you'll see his face light up as he tells this story.
Actually, there's a story behind that. So that afternoon, usually get to the rink between 4 and 4:30. I'll get my script, go through it, mark it up, look for any hard pronunciations or anything like that, and just make notes to go bug Pete Weber to find out how to pronounce the name. And then so I'm sitting in the downstairs control room, and Small Time Rockstars is warming up as they normally did, usually between 4:30 and 5 o'clock, and they're playing Schools Out. And I am sitting there, and I'm sitting next to my game ops director. You've met Brian Campbell, I'm sure. Brian was a twisted genius when it came to game operations. Well, anyway, I looked at Brian. I was like, man, Small Time Rockstars is just absolutely killing the Alice, man. This sounds awesome. And he looks at me and deadpans and goes, oh, that is Alice. And now you have to understand, Charlie, in my pantheon of, rock stars I'd have to meet, there is any Beatle, Springsteen, Alice. So at that point, I immediately jump up out of the control room, run through the Zamboni tunnel, and look up at the stage, and sure enough, there's Alice. And I turn from mature 50-year-old man into 15-year-old like that. I mean, I think zits popped out on my face. I mean, it was bad. So now, look, a mature 15-year-old a 50-year-old would walk over to the elevators, go up one floor, walk over to the stage. Hello, Alice. Welcome to Nashville. No. I leap over the railing, which with a guy my size is no small feat. I run up the aisle, and I'm literally just like crazed. And I get up there, and this little balding accountant-looking guy stops me, and he goes, "Hey, I assume you want to meet Alice." I'm like, yeah, I do. I mean, I'm literally this close to pulling a Wayne's World. We're not worthy, the whole 9 yards. Yeah. And so the guy says, sure, just let him finish up here and I'll be happy to. And he goes, by the way, Paul, it's nice to meet you. My name's Bob. I was like, okay, nice to meet you, Bob. And all of a sudden it hit me who I was speaking to. It was Bob Ezrin, produced all of Alice's stuff going all the way back in the 70s, produced Pink Floyd, produced the Stones. I mean, just legendary producer. I was almost more impressed to meet him. He's a season ticket holder. He still comes to games. He's a season ticket holder, still comes to games. And so I come up, I talk to Alice for a good 5-7 minutes. Couldn't be nicer. I go from the potential Wayne's World thing to a Chris Farley. Yeah, you remember that show at the Tower Theater in 75, the $1 Billion Babies tour? I was there. And I mean, it was ridiculous. But just talk about the nicest guy in the world. Highly professional. We sat there and chatted for a few minutes, and finally I went, look, I'll let you go. Thank you very much. And then getting to introduce him, which was even funnier, is then later on that night, he walks by, and I think I'm with my oldest. I think I'm with Zach, and he walks by and hey, Alice, hey, Paul, good to see you again. And Zach's just slack jaw going, that's Alice Cooper. I'm like, yeah. That was an absolute highlight of my Bridgestone Arena. That's a big one right there, no question. There's actually another story that follows up on that, because if you remember, they played Schools Out, and then Vince came out and joined them, and they played an old Chuck Berry tune. Well, that was the first time that Vince and Alice had met each other. Okay. And Alice was in town. The reason why Alice was in that night is he was recording Welcome to My Nightmare, the shriekwell to Welcome to My Nightmare, right? So he was recording that in town. So apparently, a story after is that they invited Vince Gill to join them in the studio the next day. Because again, what people don't know is how amazing a guitarist Vince Gill is. So there's a song on Welcome to My Nightmare called "Runaway Train" that Vince does just an absolute face melting solo on. Okay. Well, I got this story from Bob Eswin when I ran into him in the playoffs. A little later, he gave me an advance copy of the album because he knew what a fan I was. So he gave me an advance copy of the album and then told me a story so Vince comes in, rips off this solo. They have a great time. And so they're getting ready for the tour behind the album. So apparently, Bob gives Alice's tour guitarist the solo for this, and hey, this is what you're going to need to do on tour. And apparently he came back like looking harried 2 days later. This is a heavy metal, I shred things for a living guitarist, comes back to Bob Ezrin 2 days later and throws the CD down on the table and looks at him and goes, "I can't play this shit." And I mean, so it is fascinating. Again, Vince and Alice had kind of crossed paths, but not really met. That was the first time they met, and it was just fascinating how that led to that. You've worked your butt off, my friend, and you always have. You've always had that work ethic. I mean, going back to Slapshot Radio, you were always, hey, let's try this, let's try that, let's try the other. I always loved working with you with that energy and that, getting to do Slapshot Radio for as long as we did was great. It's we kind of just decided we did it. We wanted to educate, entertain, and inform, and we did that. And you know what? That's okay, because we did some great hockey road trips. We went to Carolina, went to St. Louis, went the doubleheader. We did Tampa, Florida back to back, and that was a blast because I remember we beat Florida 5-0, something like that. And our entire group that was there, we all went over to Wendy's and asked for free Frosties. They had no idea what we were talking about. And ended our last road trip that we did. We brought 150 people to Las Vegas for the first year for the Vegas Golden Knights. So very, very proud of that Slapshot Radio legacy. We've between Brandon and I getting it on the rails in year one. Pete joining the show and just a run of 10 years with Pete. And then, which turned him from a colleague into a friend. It's been absolutely wonderful. And then, Dan Kesmer being on it, and JP Dumont, and and oh gosh, I can't not mention Coach Peterson. Brent just was an amazing ad, and also got to do the show with my son. And you know what? As a dad, there ain't nothing better than doing that. I mean, I can imagine how Deion Sanders feels in Colorado watching, coaching their sons at the highest level of college football. Just doing radio with my son was just a blast, and and watching him play with the Renegades, on there. It's funny because we were out to a game a couple weeks ago, but I forgot to bring my jersey, so I'm gonna have to bring my jersey the next time. And
well, that was Paul McCann, the PA announcer of the Nashville Predators, the voice of Bridgestone Arena, the host of Slapshot Radio, all around good guy of the community. And I sure wish you could have heard the entire conversation, but your host screwed that one up pretty bad right there. But I wanted to bring you some of Paul's answers, because he talked about the Nashville Predators coming into training camp and preseason and what it feels like to get that renewed energy in the rink and the building and coming up for this upcoming season. I can't thank Paul enough for coming on and being, frankly, a guinea pig in what I know is now going to be a very successful segment, because we've already recorded another interview and it went well, and we've got all of the bugs worked out. So we're going to be bringing you more and more interviews, more content, and having more special guests talking about all things Nashville Predators hockey, Milwaukee Admirals hockey, the local hockey scene, and beyond. We are expanding what we do here from the bunker and in the trenches. And that, again, is thank you to the full press coverage.
Hello, hello, hello. I'm Tracy, owner-operator of Strong Style Fitness. And that's me and my training assistant, Rizzo. And we are here to bring you fitness that meets you where you are by offering circuit classes, bar-inspired classes, Tabata workouts, boot camps, guided stretching, and more, all taught by a certified personal trainer, me. To learn more, go to our website, strongstylefit.com. Subscribe on YouTube at Strong Style Fitness. Follow on social media at Strong Style Fit. But most importantly, let's get you moving. It doesn't matter if it's your first workout or you've been doing it for years. Strong Style Fitness has the workout that meets you on your journey and helps you along the path to a happier, healthier life. I understand where you've been, what you were going through, and where you were going, and I want to take you there. We'll see you on the mat. Mwah.
So for the Nashville Predators, we've just about got a roster set. We're just about complete with the preseason. The regular season is only a matter of a couple of days away, and the cycle completely begins again. So excited to be here in the bunker. The next episode 800, will feature the return of Brian Baston previewing the season. Jim Behringer from Full Press NHL will join us on that episode as well, previewing the Nashville Predators, and we will give you an update on everything that's happened with the roster, any last-minute moves, and we will discuss potential line combinations, what it may look like on the special teams units, and beyond. Looking forward to episode number 800. Can't believe we're already at that milestone, and we're going far beyond. We'll have a captain's update coming up as well with episode 800. This has been operation number 799. We're back in the bunker, Renegades, and we're bringing you new content. We are so excited about it. Appreciate each and every one of you joining us, or as I properly say, stick taps, love, and respect. I'm your host and captain, Crazy Charlie Saunier. And considering it's an episode full of mistakes and mess-ups already, I forgot to tell you, we got a Spartans update. Spartans are 8-0. Check out this highlights package I put together. It's really good.
I'm Charlie Saunier, voice of the Nashville Spartans, and I'm here with a few of my friends to welcome in the month of October. What they've been telling me all about is the Nashville Spartans versus the Toledo Cherokee. The Nashville Spartans currently sit at 7-0 on the regular season in the Great Lakes Division after defeating the Cherokee 6-1 last night at the Gary Force Acura Ice Arena. They look to sweep the series over this weekend and remain undefeated not only on the season but on home ice and in first place of the Great Lakes Division. When you talk about Gus Imkin leading the USPHL Premier Division with 11 goals, second overall in points. Kyle Flynn, third overall in points. Austin McCallie is leading all defensemen in the USPHL Premier Division in scoring, and the Nashville Spartans offense is undeniable. Over 7 goals per game while giving up under 2 goals per game on the season. Puck drops at 9:45 tonight, Gary Force Acura Ice Arena. We sure hope you can come on out and join us or watch us live on Flow Hockey. And no, of course I don't talk to the pumpkins. I listen. Swords up.
Puck is down here at the Gary Force Acura Ice Arena. Spartans dump the play in first. I'm their host, the voice of the Spartans, Charlie Saunier. Thank you so much for joining us here from Nolensville, Tennessee. Now Poole will skate it right down the middle of the ice over the blue line. Look to get support from Flynn. Flynn over to McCallie. McCallie walks in from the blue line. He hands the puck off to Poole. Poole over to Keenan. Keenan shot. Stopped by Krill. Spartans maintain possession. McCallie has it. Hands it off to Flynn. Flynn looking for possibly Imkin down near the near post. Spartans score! Austin McCallie. Poole keeps it in at the blue line. Plays it back across to Flynn out high. Flynn now moves in. Looks to head down low. Imkin's got the puck. And the Spartans right there are going to convert.
solid puck movement by the Nashville Spartans. And we're going to see Austin McCallie headed towards the bench for glove taps. Again, his second goal of the game, his second power play goal of the game. McCann, with otherworldly patience, helped set that play up on the power play. Spartans lead 2-0, 16:45 to go here in regulation. Kyle Flynn comes into the night with 16 points. He was third in the USPHL Premier Division in scoring coming into this game. He would have loved to have that empty netter. Keenan tries to use his big frame, cannot win the faceoff. Puck is going to be held in at the blue line by Toledo. They'll set up with the extra attacker. Crawford holds, surveys, gets it to the slot area. Shot would not go. And we've got an empty net goal in favor of the Nashville Spartans. Spartans 3-0, fired the puck from their own zone, full length of the ice. That's going to be number 71, Kyle Flynn, going over the bench and getting glove taps first. Now Poole controls the puck just inside the blue line, hands it off to Flynn, Flynn to Poole, Poole over to McCallie. This unit has been devastating against Toledo Cherokee this entire weekend. Poole can't keep it in at the blue line, but that's all right. We're headed down to 1 minute to go in the game. McCallie moves the puck to Keenan. Keenan slowly over the blue line. Holds, now moves towards the center. Moves it across to Flynn. Flynn looking to tuck the puck into the net. And Flynn tucks the puck into the net. Kyle Flynn with sweet hands in the blue paint. Puts the puck over the goal line again. Spartans 4, Cherokee 0. With a 4-0 lead and 35 seconds to go, the Nashville Spartans will go 8-0 in the Great Lakes Division. The brand new team in town of the Great Lakes is now dominating. They have 16 points on the season. As of this final buzzer in 23 seconds, they hold an 8-point lead over second place Toledo Cherokee. The Nashville Spartans 4-0, 15 seconds to go in the game. Daniel Duzic plays the puck off to the side one more time. Duzic about to complete 6 periods of action here, winning last night, only giving up 1 goal. 5 seconds to go here in the game. Daniel Duzic is going to get the shutout. Daniel Duzic, in 6 periods of hockey for the Nashville Spartans, gives up just 2 goals to a team that was averaging almost 9 goals a game coming into this weekend series. The Nashville Spartans sweep the weekend series against Toledo 6-1 last night, 4-0 today, a combined score of 10-1. The Spartans move to 8-0 on the season. We will now have the handshake line. Toledo has made its final appearance here in Nashville. The Spartans will head off to Toledo on January the 18th, where they will face off against the Cherokee. And then again, Friday, February the 2nd, Nashville will be in Toledo again to face off against the Cherokee. Toledo makes their way off of the rink. The Nashville Spartans come out to center ice. You heard all those stick taps right there. Ronan Keenan tells us exactly what the situation is as he makes the sweeping blade motion over here towards the perch. I'm Charlie Saunier, voice of the Nashville Spartans. Welcome to October. The Nashville Spartans are 8-0 on the season atop the Great Lakes Division after sweeping the Toledo Cherokee in this weekend's big-time matchup that brought the eyes of the USPHL to Nashville and the Spartans. Flynn with 2 goals in this game. McCallie with 2 goals in this game. They continue pushing the top scoring leaders for the USPHL. The Nashville Spartans are undeniable now at 8-0 and look to continue rolling. They close out the homestand 2-0 and they sweep the Toledo Cherokee. I'm Charlie Saunier, voice of the Nashville Spartans. Swords up.